Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Framerate is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Framerate is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. With over 1 million high-quality video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 30% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code FRAMERATE7.
Enter Jim Dragon Kelly. He clubbers them up as Black Belt Jones.
I lost 3 of my best men in there. Now I'm asking you as a favor.
You're asking me to be the 4th. Get a couple tanks and blast it down.
Forget it, man.
I ain't going in there. It's a fortress.
Well, fortress or no, it's top priority.
Go, 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 go! It's Framerate. See what I did there? That was me talking.
Oh my God. It's episode 130 of Framerate. Brian Brushwood can talk over the music finally.
Hey guys, I'm Brian Brushwood.
I'm Tom Merritt. Welcome to Framerate.
This is Framerate.
We little
See, we
inside
said that
sauce.
at the same time.
Yeah, we can interrupt each other now because Brian got a little Skype ducking thing going on. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, this is the first episode in all of Twit where we're trying a multiple Skype solution at the same time. Hopefully, it'll allow us to interrupt each other in order to make more fractious and
Brian,
angry
I'm not
episodes.
Sure that's such a
See?
good idea. Oh,
That's exactly what I'm saying. Well put, Tom.
Wait, which direction are you? Yeah, here we go.
I'm over here.
Yeah.
High five over
All
this.
right.
Whatever. Hey, man,
Yes.
that opening clip was in memoriam for Jim the Dragon Kelly, star of Black Belt Jones, died today at age 67. Man, kind of sucks to be a grown-up. And then all of a sudden, all the people you were chuckling at when you were a teenager are passing away. So condolences to the family and fans of Black Belt Jones.
Go find a Jones movie. Dig it up. Enjoy it in his honor.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off with the big story.
This just in, the big story.
Well, guess who has cold feet? Intel got a brand new CEO recently, Brian Krzanich, and now he's saying things like, about Intel TV, we believe we have a great user interface, and the decompression technology is fantastic. You may be saying, well, of course he's saying that, Tom. He's the CEO of Intel. But he goes on to say, but in the end, if we want to provide that service, it comes down to content. We are not big content players.
So is this them pretty much acknowledging like, hey, the reason nobody else has cracked this, pretty sure that's the reason we're not going to be able to crack this either. Because like content is hard.
We're experts in silicon. We're experts in mobility and driving Moore's Law, but we are not experts in the content industry, and we're being careful. Krzanich came in and said, well, let me see the numbers on the Intel TV project. Yeah, say what? You got no deal? No, 0 deals. And we're launching it. I don't know about this, guys.
Well, but keep in mind that we had in earlier discussions said that this might be the reason that they're perfectly positioned to come in is because they don't have a dog in the fight. They don't have any kind of conflict because they're pushing their own player with their own media partners or whatever. They could have come in as the third party. But my guess is it wouldn't surprise me at all if at this point everything was just so fractious and everybody's so worried about their exclusives and their partnerships and their deluded fantasies of what they think they can get out of an imaginary pie, then nobody wants to actually make a legitimate deal with anyone, which would really bum me out because
in fact, Shara Tipkin over at CNET has an article up that says, while Intel's been testing the product for months, it still faces hurdles. One of those is content deals. Time Warner Cable and other cable TV providers have been pressuring channel owners to shun packs with Intel and other internet-based TV providers. So, in other words, what I think is happening is the previous CEO, Paul Otellini, was a big fan of it and was like, no, come on, you guys, we can do it. I know it's going to be hard. Let's strike these deals. Krzanich comes in and says, I'm not a big believer that this is the business we need to be in. I think we need to be talking about maybe doing some chip design for Apple, coming up with some more mobile processors. Wearable computing seems hot. We're good at that. I'm not sure why we're doing this. And that's what a lot of people were questioning Intel about. So, yeah, like you said, I kind of thought, well, Intel might be awesome because they don't have the dog in the fight. But it turns out not having a dog means that nobody wants to come to your dog park.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm going to kick myself for having said this out loud, but I actually think this guy's making the right call. Like from the outside, I'm cheering the idea of Intel coming in as a rambunctious third party and stirring stuff up. But truthfully, if I was CEO and I'm looking at my own core competencies, I would not go in the direction we thought they were going. And to be honest, I think that they're smart to do, to focus on what they're good at and what their name has been for, 40 years or however long. So
I hate to agree vociferously with you all the time because we know that could make a boring show, but I can't disagree with you there. As a customer, yeah, I'm not writing the checks. I'm not a shareholder. Go Intel, get in there. Maybe you'll be able to do it. As a CEO who's like, maybe is not good enough for me.
Yeah.
And this is not something that we do.
It's as though he's like, hey guys, you know what we're really good at is playing chess. This whole plan of like getting into pro wrestling, I'm not real sure that it's a good idea because we're not strong. I can do a push-up or 3, but really, let's focus on our queens bishops openings and not so much. Stop sewing that spandex costume and you stop playing 80s rock.
And just to be clear, they haven't announced they're not doing the Intel TV. He's just saying cautious things instead of enthusiastic things. They may still come out with it. So I don't want to give the misconception that they've killed it.
And again, as a consumer, I hope they do, man. I hope they tear stuff up, man. But also not going to be mad at him as a CEO if he doesn't go for it.
No, it's totally understandable. Speaking of getting Brian mad, though, that's another big story.
Oh my God.
Stop everything. It's another big story.
So Tom,
yeah,
I want you to picture something. Picture something. Right. It's like last week on Tuesday or so. Or Thursday. I forget when. But it's time for me to take care of bills. And I noticed that like I missed last month's cable bill, right? So I'm like, oh, that means I'll have to pay 2 months. So how much will that be? So I pick up the phone, dial the number. Robot says, oh, you want to pay your bill? That'll be $455.
How is that 2 months?
2 cents. Well, that's what I said, because it's like, hey man, like it's always been like $150. Why is it suddenly $440 something? So to clarify, pick up the phone. Let me talk to a person. Hello, this is Brian. I'm a customer. Why am I paying $220+ a month? And they're like, oh, well, this fee went up and that fee went up, and you're paying $13 a month now for your DVR or whatever. And I just hear all of this stuff. And keep in mind, Time Warner, and this is me talking about my personal experience with the company, has a long track record of saying things will be one way and then charging for them another way. You know, I was told originally that they're very sorry that they screwed up my installation, that they didn't show up when they would. I wasted 3 days. So they said, we're giving you the DVR for free. Normally that's $10, but you're going to get it for free. Then they went on to charge me for months and months and months. Likewise, so in this case, they start running down the list of all the fees that they're going to ding me on this and ding me on that. And something broke inside of me, Tom. And I was like,
snapped.
This is the moment. I'm done. I'm out. And I said, you know what? What would it look like if I canceled cable? And then they're like, well, why would you want to do that?
Well, and I thought it would look like a dumb move. That's what they said.
That pretty much, right? So I'm like, well, just hear me out. Crazy talk. What would it look like without it? And they were like, well, what would you do instead of cable? They were always like answering your question with a question. At some point, they shifted to retention mode. And the more the Grand Moff Tarkin, the tighter their grip, the more star systems slip through their fingers. Something about them going into retention mode and arguing with cable. Yes, exactly. And I'm just like, well, I'll do Netflix and Hulu. And they're like, oh, well, they can just change their prices anytime you want. At least with us, you have a guaranteed price. I was like, I thought so.
Need to know? Why is it any of their business? what other services you're going to use. Yeah.
So at some point, the cold fire of hate comes over me, and I full on decide, this is it, man. I host Frame Rate with Tom Merritt. I'm going to cut the cord. I'm so pissed at these asshats that it's like it's over now. So I say, dude, let's. I want to do this. So they start challenging me, like, well, how are you going to watch your shows outside of that? And you know, I mentioned the alternatives, and they try to tell me why those are bad. Then they're like, well, hold on, let me see what I can do. And they come back and they say, all right, we can drop you from $220 down to $151. Now, keep in mind, if you did drop cable, you would be at $154. So just internet and phone would be like $154. We're going to be cheaper than that at $151, and you get to keep everything the same. And at this point, I had made the mistake or the brilliant move of tweeting out my intention to cut the cord. So all of the internet is cheering, like, no, screw those guys. Cut the cord, Brian, go.
Cut the cord.
Exactly. So at this point, they're offering me $3 cheaper to keep everything that I have. So I'm like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. They're like, hold on, let me see what I can do. And they go off on hold again. Then they come back. And at this point, we're at 45, 50 minutes.
Hold on.
Exactly.
I'm gonna write down a number. Yeah.
Then they say, okay, if you do cable or if you do internet and phone, that's going to be $154. But if you just keep basic cable, you don't even have to use it. Just keep it. Just plug in that coax to the back of your television. Get your free 20 whatever channels. Who cares? It'll be $138. And I'm like, so at this point, they're proposing to me to pay me $16 a month or so to please just keep at least basic cable. But at this point, on principle, I'm just like, nope. Let's cancel cable and go. And it ended up that we totally, and it took 90 minutes, and they ended up disconnecting my internet in the process, and I had to call back. I got dropped off and all this other crap or whatever. But where I am now is $138 a month. It's only phone and an increased tier of. I went in and got the maximum package for internet at this point. So at this point, I've totally cut the cord. But here's the important part. Is number one, I expect lots of griping from me in the future. But like doing the math, like I'm saving $80 a month, which means that's an astonishing amount of content that I can buy on iTunes at full retail. But I don't know that I could possibly spend $80 a month and end up on the wrong side of profitability on this. Like your
only issues, and this is actually great because we've always argued that one of the reasons we both haven't fully cut the cord is that we need to keep an eye on what's going on. I will continue to keep an eye on what's going on when you have a service. I have DirecTV, that's fine. But what's going to be interesting is how frustrating the timing issue is because you're definitely making financial sense. No doubt about it. And you're definitely exposing what's going on with those cable subscriber numbers where they're like, look, we don't care about making money off you anymore. We need to make sure that our shareholders see subscriber numbers are not declining or that at least we can explain them away by the economy, that only the poorest people who couldn't afford to have the service at all are going to cut the cord. So it'll be interesting to see, can you find enough satisfaction in buying movies and TV shows and not being able to see things on time?
And keep in mind also, like, even though I'm legitimately cutting the cord now and I'm finally doing the thing that both of us have said we wanted to do for a long time, there's some part of me that still feels like I'm fudging because it's like I'm thinking in the back of my head, well, you know, mom and dad, they got DirecTV and they got
that's
HBO.
Legit.
So
anybody's got, you know, friends or family that they can go talk to, hang out with.
That's fair enough. Well, let me do this. So here's the thing. I suspect that if you guys are anything like Tom and I, there's a lot of you guys who listen to the show who want to be able to cut the cord, but you got some reason or other to hold back for a little while. I'm going to set up the Frame Rate Chicken Challenge. And what I want you guys to do, because it was really, really fun to mess with them and just say the words, I don't see the point of cable. I want to cancel cable and just watch all my stuff on the internet and watch them freak out and scramble. Now, here's the chicken challenge is pick up the phone, call your provider, and just say, and you've got to specifically say, hey, man, I'm realizing I watch all my stuff online, so I'd like to cancel cable. Just say those words. The worst thing that could happen is they say, okay, no problem, done. And then you're like, oh, you know what? I just remembered there's this big game next week I want to see. Let me hold off on that and then take it back. There's no penalty. But what will happen is I want you to, first of all, evaluate how argumentative they are with you. Second of all, I want you to see how much of a better deal they instantly offer. Do you realize, like, I could have, if I had taken the first or second offer, saved $80 and essentially gotten the exact same thing just for saying the words, I don't see the point of cable. And so here's what I want everybody at home to do that. I want to make this like a wave. Like if you're a true Frame Rate fan, at least flirt with the idea. Pick up the phone and call. And in fact, Tom, I'd kind of like you to wait, we talked about this though, because I called you. I was all excited. And you said there was a reason you couldn't take the chicken challenge.
No, because I'm on a contract. I'm on a DirecTV contract. So I can't see what happens. It's not the same calculus. Let's put it that way. So here's what I told Brian is that once my year-long Movers Advantage contract is over, which will be next January, I will definitely hop on board this. But it's not the same test to be like, well, sir, you're going to have to pay this early termination fee because then they've got leverage over you, right?
Yeah, maybe
it's not going to be the same motivation on their part.
I don't know, though. I would at least try it and at least threaten like you would pay the early termination fee, because then at least you get a true measure of how much they value that subscriber count. Because what if they really don't care about the termination fee? All they care about is like they're so passionate about the subscriber numbers that they fall over themselves.
The thing about DirecTV, though, is I have to say, since Fox sold them, since News Corp sold them, they've actually been really good when I've canceled things. Like when I canceled HBO or when I got rid of my second screen, I got rid of the second DVR and just went with the one main screen. You know, they definitely said, oh, are you sure you want to do that? You know, why are you doing it? And I would explain. They're like, well, are you sure you want it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Like they haven't pushed back.
Maybe that's the difference. Maybe, I mean, and first of all, to be perfectly fair for anyone who listens who works at Time Warner Cable, maybe I got just a bad person, or maybe institutionally, Time Warner Cable.
I think the cable companies are much more afraid than the satellite companies. I think you'll get an entire. They're much less customer oriented. They're much more shareholder oriented. DirecTV and Dish always get rave reviews for service and for treating their customers with respect. Time Warner Cable, no. Comcast, no. Cablevision, Charter, So I think that it's a different issue with the cable companies where they're like, really, all we need to do is make sure that cord doesn't come unplugged from that television, do whatever, because all we care about is that shareholder report. So you need to make that happen, because that's what happened with you. They're like, well, listen, we'll pay you to keep it, essentially.
No, and essentially that was it. They essentially said, we would pay you to keep the service. And
I think let's not get bogged down in what I'm going to do. Let's just make a clear message that you need to threaten to cut the cord, pull out your big scissors, take the chicken challenge.
But here's the thing. Don't say I'm thinking about cutting the cord. Don't say I kind of want to. Call them up and say, I don't see the point of cable. I want to watch all my content from Netflix and Hulu. I'd like to cancel cable, but up my internet or whatever. Just see what happens. Yes. No. In fact, I would love to keep track of how much money we save all of our fans. How many people cut, like write us at fr@twit.tv or framerate@twit.tv and let us know what better offer you got. Because I was astonished. They were ready to lock in a savings of $80 per month for an entire year just to keep me on their cable tit.
And the other side of that, by the way, is that they hope in a year that you'll forget. And then they can do what they've been doing to you, which is add a bunch of fees back in and start making that money back. Side notes here. You're excited about the Xbox 360 Time Warner Cable app? Xbox.
God. You realize, Tom, it's like this is exactly how it would go when Brian cuts the cord. Is the second he would cut the cord, there would be an awesome announcement on the service that he was stuck on with the exact favorite of his consoles in the living room. That would allow, because my kids, here's the funny part, is I thought my kids would freak out about losing cable. They don't even care. The kids are watching, Penny is watching all of these shows on these Disney sitcoms that are on Netflix right now. They didn't even notice or care, although it would have been convenient for them to be able to stay in the Xbox ecosystem and watch live TV. That would have been fun to check out, but I won't be a part of that. But I am bummed.
Well, and Time Warner may get sold. Apparently, John C. Malone of Liberty Media is leading an effort. He's a part owner in Charter to make a bid for Time Warner Cable. And if they hear that they've lost you, that may lower the share price.
You know what? That's
Okay,
a good point. I express no regrets. Sorry, share price.
Take the challenge.
You just got schwooded.
That's the key here. It pays to cancel. Take the challenge.
God, you have no idea, Tom. Like, part of me wants to invent a time machine right now just so I could jump a week into the future just to read all the stories we're going to get from people who took the frame rate chicken challenge. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Let's move on to yet another big story.
Tuck in your bootstraps. It's yet another big story.
This very shortly here. The for-your consideration ads are starting to mount up, and we are seeing Netflix with House of Cards and Arrested Development, mostly House of Cards, pushing for Emmy nominations. Lilyhammer did get nominated last year, but this is the first time that you look at one and go, House of Cards could win. That's an all-star cast. That's a great director. It's a great production. You know, like this is a serious contender. It's not a lock by any stretch, and they've got all these odds in the paid content article. I guess the current handicap for House of Cards winning an Emmy is at 14-1. Homeland is at 12-5, so they're kind of the odds-on favorite. But there's also who is it from House of Cards? Kate Mara is going to be presenting. So they're embracing this digital-only, web-only television show.
Let me ask you this, Tom. Do you think that, the cliche is it's an honor even to be nominated, right? So on the one hand, part of me wants to say what House of Cards seeks is legitimacy for Netflix as a distribution platform. And the mere fact that it's been nominated under multiple categories gives it that legitimacy. But, so even if it doesn't win, maybe that's a win for Netflix. But you said Lilyhammer did get nominated last year. So is this a case where Lilyhammer didn't count because it was just the one, but now the fact that it really got nominated under multiple categories and has a credible chance of winning is enough for credibility? Or is it the case where nothing short of winning an actual Emmy will legitimize the distribution platform of Netflix for television?
I think the difference here is Lilyhammer garnered a nomination, and that was nice, but it was produced by a Norwegian television network for Norwegian television. So you could make the argument, if you were a naysayer, that, oh, sure, they showed it on Netflix in the U.S., but this was still a television network production. Let's be clear. With House of Cards, there's none of that. This was made, bought, and paid for by Netflix. They weren't the production company, but neither is HBO for any of their shows. They went to the producers and said, you're making this for us and us alone. And that is the big difference, I think.
So you think, like, already full stop, the mere fact that it's been nominated that's all the legitimacy it takes. The mere fact
it hasn't been nominated yet. It hasn't been nominated yet.
Okay, but is there any
get nominations, and so that's when it will be the big thing.
Did you see this story about people putting out campaign posters on their yards for House of Cards, like
they're
in the vein of
free Netflix in exchange for putting for your consideration posters? Well, that is an interesting internet story, because the reason that they're doing that now is the newspapers like Variety aren't getting the circulation they used to, and so just putting them in the trades isn't enough.
Yeah, well, and plus also, I thought it was very in keeping with the theme. Of course, House of Cards being a backstabbing political extravaganza, narrative. The fact that it would use the trappings of real life political voting, no, I thought was really cool.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to probably not such a big story, but it's our fourth big story. Actually, it's appropriate because YouTube has put up a funny video educating you on copyright, starring Fred von Lohman, former lawyer for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, now the head of copyright for Google, and they use puppets. This is so much more entertaining than that stupid cartoon they make you watch when you get 3 strikes, or when you get, even a single strike. And it includes an actual respectful treatment of fair use as commentary to demonstrate we are going to make fair use of showing you that section of the video. Take it away,
Check
Jason.
it out.
Hey, Fred, I want to take down a video that is making fun of me.
Mario, you can't go around censoring people who are commenting on or criticizing your video. Copyright law leaves room for commentary, criticism, parody, and other transformative uses. You can get in a lot of trouble for ignoring that. Wait a minute, what are you doing?
This is great stuff. I am putting it in the video.
And it's a running theme throughout the thing is that the puppets are making a video about copyright for YouTube. And I think they end up doing a great job.
So
and I love the fact that they give like a real explanation of fair use in there.
Yeah, well, and if you ever saw the one that was made by, what was it, Mondo Media, the folks who do Happy Tree Friends were the ones who did the previous video, and the whole thing was just a bunch of thou shalt nots, and then like, well, when can we use someone's stuff? And it's like, well, that's fair use, and it just in this very offhanded, offensive way to me. It just is like, yeah, but fair use is like complicated legal mumbo jumbo. You don't want to worry about that. Just never use anyone's stuff ever. And of course, in a remix culture, that's not terribly fair. The fact that they spent of this 5-minute video a full minute not only explaining fair use, to remix or to comment or to criticize a video, but also to actively defend it. Like in that moment you just saw, somebody's like, I want to take down a video because it uses a second of my thing and I don't like what he says about it. And the fact that YouTube's lawyer says, no, bro, that's covered and there's nothing you're going to do. That is a tremendous advance forward. Not as far as I would like to see. I think that in reality, we live in a far greater remix culture than is represented in this video. But to go from 0 to as far as they have, it's a big move on YouTube's part, and I certainly applaud it.
Let's take a break and thank our sponsor for today's show. This episode of Frame Rate brought to you by Shutterstock.com. Speaking of fair use, you can make fair use of a lot of things. But if something you can't make fair use of is somebody else's photograph without their permission in some kind of promotional context for you, right? You're making a brochure or you're making a movie.
You can't say it's fair use when you're making an ad. Like if you want to sell something and use somebody else's photograph or this time lapse of birds chirping and flowers opening or whatever, throw that in there and be all like, achieve bliss with my awesome new drug.
But Brian, if I want some nice footage video for my advertisement or my company presentation and there's something I can use and I can't make a fair use case for it, I got to pay millions of dollars for that, right?
Maybe that's how it was back in the 1960s, 50s. I'm not sure where you're phoning in from, but nowadays, super cheap and available thanks to Shutterstock. They add like tens of thousands of images every week, maybe even every day. Here's a puppet you're looking at right now.
Wait, so I could make my own puppet video without needing to know puppetry, operate puppets,
or even have the puppets,
or get sued by some puppet company.
No, you don't have to get sued or nothing. You just go to Shutterstock. Here's the best part. We are going to hook you up with a code, Tom.
What?
So you can get 30% off. 30% off if you use promo code FrameRate7 for your purchases.
Well, hold on. I want to try it out first, though. If I try it out, you're gonna take all my credit card information and stuff, right?
No, come on, man. What do you take me for? This ain't no back alley stabbing. I'm not shivving you and stealing your wallet. I'm trying to provide value, my friend. Do you realize, Tom, that if you buy $1 billion worth of stock photos, you would save $300 million just by using promo code FrameRate7? You ever see a little movie called Brewster's Millions, Tom?
Yes.
He couldn't barely spend $30 million in a month. Imagine how long it would take you to spend that $300 million you'll save with promo code FrameRate7.
So all I do is I sign up for a free account, I create a clip box and share some videos, and then if I want to buy any of them, I choose my most convenient package and get 30% off with the code FrameRate7. That's what you're telling me.
I think you just did a non-fair use plagiarism of my exact words, but I'm going to forgive it, Tom, because
you're going to license that to
friends
me?
over it. Yeah. Yes, and I'm going to use Shutterstock to sell it to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Shutterstock, for supporting Frame Rate. You are the best. We love you, and we're going to send you flowers. Time for the slipstream. I almost sounded insincere when I said that. I'm seriously going to send them flowers now. Let's start with Aereo, the CEO, talking up his tech, taking a tour. We're not talking about Barry Diller. We're talking about Chet Kanoja. He doesn't get enough credit. He's the actual CEO of this company. He's just Barry Diller backed, showing the micro antennas around and saying, oh, and by the way, yeah, you know we're in New York. You know we're in Atlanta. We're coming to Chicago in September 13th. We are not stopping. We are Aereo.
Can I tell you my favorite quote from this entire article was the question is somebody says some people believe that Aereo is built to circumvent the legal system, and he says, let me state flatly, Aereo was built to comply with the legal system. And I think that's what I really love about it, is that he put it in a black and white context and says, these are the rules you assholes have set up, and we're obeying them to the law. I don't know if you're going to bleep that or not. I apologize for not an exact quote. I should point that out.
Okay, that's so. But I bet he wanted to say that. I'm almost certain he did.
I bet he did. That's what was in his heart.
That's how he feels. He says, I find it hard to believe that there are lawmakers in this country that will sit idle and have 50+ million people disenfranchised by not allowing them to have antenna. Which is
pretty much the same thing I said. Pretty much, yeah. I pretty much verbatim, like if this was YouTube, I would get a takedown notice for having quoted him too exactly.
He says, the system is set up so that nobody cares about these customers. It's purely about creating more and more profit for the companies. It may be right for them, but it creates an opportunity for people like me who say, if I pick that consumer and support him to the nth degree, I'll win. In other words, guess who usually wins in the end? Is the company that supports the customer. We like to think that's not true because we always see so many companies succeeding at abusing the customer, but they don't win in the end. They always end up getting their just desserts. Sometimes it takes a long time, but those companies don't have long-term success.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. I continue from the sidelines in a pro wrestling context. I can't get enough of the Aereo story, and I love the fact that they're using the letter of the law as a hammer to those who want to shut down people's ability to get what they want, when they want, on what device they want in a legal way. Now,
in comparison, we have Reuters reporting on an interview with John Hendricks. He's the boss of HBO Go. I'm sorry, he's the boss, not a boss of HBO Go. He's the boss of Discovery Communications. But he's talking about the success of services like HBO Go and saying Discovery would like to do a service like that. And in his memoir, he floats the idea of a price of $6 to $8 for a Discovery service like that. And I'm starting to cheer, right? I'm like, awesome. So I could just go right to the internet, pay $8. Sure, I'll pay $8.
Sure, bro. $6 to $8. That's right in line with your Netflix.
And he said, now wait a minute. He says, hold on. It's only going to be things that are between 6 and 18 months old because we're going to keep the 6-month stuff running on the Discovery Live channel. And the stuff that's over 18 months gets licensed out to places like Netflix. So
now, also,
okay, maybe I'm into Shark Week enough that I'll pay $8. But that's not all. He also says you're going to have to be paying for cable to authorize yourself. That's
the big moment. That's
to pay us the $8.
So the not only the $6 to $8 to get the content, but that's on top of the, as we just discussed, the $80+ they have to pay just to get in the basic cable club to begin with. It's ridiculous. It's a step in the wrong direction. It's a right-headed effort in a wrong-headed packaging. How about that?
Yeah, it's like you've got the pieces, right? You could either put up an app and require people to authenticate to get the app. That's perfectly normal. Lots of companies are doing that now. You could be a little more forward-thinking and say, you know what? We're going to put up our archive material for a subscription, and anybody can get it. You pay us $6 a month, you get the archive material. Okay, maybe that would work. I could see the logic. But saying you have to be a current cable subscriber and you have to pay us extra for the archive content on top of that, I don't see anybody doing that. I get why they want to do it. I even get the logic of like, yeah, but it's material we wouldn't be having on the channel, so we're going to charge extra for it. I get that too. You would pay for a DVD, but that's just not going to fly. Nobody's going to pay money for that.
Here's what's going to happen, Tom, is right now what you're seeing is when somebody says this, essentially what they're saying is we acknowledge where stuff is going and we see where consumers want things to go. We see the success of an HBO Go and we get all of it. There's no possible way we can express support and not have our shareholders shiv us in the back, you know? So instead, what they do is they say these weird, mushy middle talks about like, let's do that thing and also charge a nominal fee because that's what my shareholders want to hear. What'll happen is there's going to be someone, the way Dish is right now with their devil may care Hopper attitude, their punk rock, we're in third place, we got nothing to lose attitude. There's going to be some channel that just at some point says, we're headed towards bankruptcy. Let's do a desperate bid and go straight to the internet and lose partnerships if we need to. And when they have massive success, that will be what breaks the dam and makes a sensible version of this available for more people.
Yeah. EMI went DRM free first. Why? Because they're in last place. Of course, now they got bought. But
these are but these are the stories that will transform this landscape for us. It's not the people who are in a position to protect their stuff. Because trust me, like third place, fourth place, fifth place systems, they would, if they could, preserve the cash they got. But when they got nothing to lose, that's when you get the real innovation in this kind of market.
I got some good news and some bad news about the ABC Live streaming app. You know, the one that was only in New York City, streaming
good
live
news first.
ABC television.
Good news first.
Good news first? Okay.
Yeah,
Here's the good news. It's going beyond New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, Raleigh, Durham. Not Austin. I wish I could say that for you. But
that's fine.
All those cities are going to get access to their live streaming ABC programming now.
This is great because what ABC is doing is they're taking content that they're already streaming for free over the broadcast networks and finally making it available to a convenient way that people would actually use it today. I can see no downside to this, Tom Merritt.
Do you want the bad news now?
Oh, there's bad news.
Yeah, there was also the bad news. I feel kind of bad now because you got so excited, but
I did. I was pretty excited. For a second, it sounded like you were about to say that one of the top 4 broadcasters was going to give people what they wanted. But it sounds like you're about to say something else.
I mean, they're still giving people what they want in those cities I mentioned if they subscribe to Comcast, Cablevision, Cox, Charter, Mid-Continent, or AT&T.
So what you're saying is for someone like, well, for example, me, somebody who finally just cut the cord and gave the middle finger to Time Warner Cable and doesn't have a cable, just out of luck for guys like me, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot Philly. It was already in Philly. Thanks for reminding me. Don't blame me. But you're still you're gonna have to authenticate in New York and Philly now as well.
I made a huge mistake.
Well. Sure. You know what gets me about this, actually? It's coming to Los Angeles, where Time Warner Cable is the dominant provider. Time Warner Cable isn't on board.
Yeah, so when I listen to you say that, it's like I was screwed regardless.
Yeah. So, it's not coming to Austin, and Time Warner isn't one of the partners. So, there you go.
Good enough.
We got a couple of interesting Netflix stories. First of all, if you have PS3 with Netflix, you must do this right now. Go launch Netflix and engage with Max, the virtual assistant who asks you questions about your movie habits. Let's play the rating game and then recommend stuff for you to watch.
You know what? I'm actually so okay with this that I was disappointed to realize that this was a PS3 only feature. Like I actually went and
bring it to the iPad soon.
Well, so. I looked for a link to for the PC version of this because here's the thing.
Like PS.
Netflix's algorithm is really, really good. Like it's so good. They offered $1 million to improve it. And when they saw how tricky you would have to get to improve on it, they paid the $1 million and then didn't use it. Like that's how good the predictive algorithm is. So if there's a simple way for you to just say, 5, 10,
but here's
20
my
different.
Question. Brian, how often do you sit down at Netflix and go, I wish there were a virtual assistant that could tell me something to watch?
Well, no. Okay, here's the gap, Tom. We could say oh yeah, no. I hear that algorithm's really, really good. And one of these days I'm going to fill in all my information and it's going to give me that magic where it just knows what I like. Or it could be like, hop on. We're going to dress it up a little bit. It's like when they bother to try to make defensive driving a comedy online course or whatever. Yes, the comedy is crap. Yes, as a game, Max is a crap game, but it's just enough, I hope, that it'll get you to put your information in there.
But my question is, do you really like ever sit down and go like, oh, I'm at a loss. I want to watch something on Netflix, but I'm at a loss. I don't use it that way.
Nope, I do.
Okay.
I totally do.
Right.
Well, and in fact, that's why I'm totally bummed that my kids have ruined. Like I spent like a day.
Oh, you
Tom,
need
doing
profiles.
nothing.
Yeah.
I rated all my stuff because it's like there's stuff out there that I'm gonna love, and I don't know that I'm gonna love it. And you got to go through that process to set it up. And I was bummed when my kids started watching a bunch of Disney Channel crap, and it just ruined everything for me. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that stuff.
More minor note, during Microsoft's Build Developers Conference last week, they showed off Netflix working in Windows 8.1. That's an upcoming update to Windows in HTML5. So no more Silverlight. Netflix working natively in the browser. Now, what they had to do this was Microsoft had to implement a few modules, the media source extension, the encrypted media extension, and the web cryptography API so that Netflix's DRM would work in native HTML5 because those are not part of the HTML5 standard. But once Microsoft did that for Internet Explorer, this works great. And it means that you don't have to install Silverlight, update Silverlight, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to have Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Opera. They're all going to have to do all of that work themselves if Netflix is going to be able to use this on HTML5 across different browsers. That may or may not happen, but an interesting note.
The controversy, as we discussed this when it was originally proposed, was that HTML5 is an open standard, and in order to put in some kind of, like, you can't have Netflix support without some form of DRM, and the whole idea of putting a proprietary DRM into what's allegedly supposed to be an open standard is a problem. So the workaround, as I'm understanding from what you just said, is that each browser kind of tweaks a little thing in there.
But it's not even that bad. These are some commonly accepted modules that I believe, I don't want to say they're open because I don't know what licenses they're under, but they're not proprietary, so other people can implement them. But the browser has to implement them, right?
So browser by browser, you'll see this.
Exactly. And that's actually true of HTML. Every browser implements HTML a little different, which is why pages don't always render exactly the same from browser to browser. So it's really not that unusual for a browser to be like, okay, I'm going to add in this ability to handle things that way. That's how the Adobe Flash plugin works. It's just Netflix wants everybody to get on board with these modules. And they merit. Because then we could all watch The New Girl in HTML5.
Yeah, man. New Girl was one of the big players for the Hulu. It was a big draw. I know, certainly in my household
here. It's Netflix getting exclusive deal for past seasons of New Girl. Now, we don't know how many seasons New Girl is going to have. They only have one now. But yeah, Hulu did not get the old seasons of New Girl. New Girl, a Fox show. Fox, a part of News Corp, which owns Hulu.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. I honestly don't know how. Tell me how you feel about this, because on the one hand, it's like it's great because you're seeing this. You're getting to the nasty part of the battle, right? And the fact that this is a space that people are actually fighting over is good for the consumers. But on the other hand, as a consumer, I want more players. And at this point, like, Hulu's looking really pretty crappy as an option for looking at a lot of this stuff. And I don't know that I want to quite see a dominance from Netflix. In fact, weirdly, for as long as this show's been on, Tom, I would have ranked it as Netflix, then Hulu, then Amazon Prime. But from the stories in the last couple of weeks, for the first time ever, I think I'd rank it Netflix, then Amazon Prime, then Hulu.
So you liked Netflix back before it was popular, is what you're saying?
Well, no. I mean, it's like we always knew that Netflix was dominant or whatever, but it's like they're so dominant right now.
Sold out, man.
Yeah.
Now
I got the new girl.
girl.
I got Zoe Deschanel.
Hey,
look at me. I'm Netflix. I got so many Emmys, or I'm about to get Emmys.
There's a side note here, by the way, that News Corp is splitting into 20th Century Fox and News Corp. 20th Century Fox is going to be the movies and TV show side of things, and News Corp is the newspaper side. This is fallout from the scandal about the newspaper investigations, where they were breaking into people's voicemail and such
in England.
So when we go forward, we will be referring to 20th Century Fox, oddly enough, when talking about what we used to call News Corp owning Fox Television, et cetera, et cetera. So I believe I need to double check this, but I believe 20th Century Fox gets the ownership stake in Hulu that News Corp had, because it's part of that side of the business.
Man, but what's weird is, wouldn't it make more sense for Hulu if if News Corp ended up owning them, because then you got somebody. Then, like the whole problem with Hulu is that
the News Corp is the newspaper business. It would make sense for the side of the company that's probably going to go bankrupt.
No. But that's just it. Is part of the problem that they're having is that they're owned by News Corp has their vested interest in their existing stuff, their existing agreements. And it's like the whole reason that we thought Intel might do well is because they don't have a dog in the fight. And the whole reason that Hulu's trying to sell itself to anyone who's not entrenched in old media.
I get what you're saying, and there's an argument there, but Hulu doesn't get to choose.
Yeah,
it's the executives at News Corp, the former News Corp, that they get to choose. So yeah, I just think if News Corp, the newspaper side News Corp ended up owning Hulu, it just wouldn't make any sense because you'd have a bunch of people who know absolutely nothing. At least now you have people,
which is who I want. I want the amateurs. Yes.
No, you don't. I have worked for a company owned by an amateur who knew nothing about the television industry. It does not end well. Trust me.
Fair enough. All
right, let's move on to word for it. Sony's 4K player launching July 15th. We've talked about this before. It's the player that will cost you a lot of money and come with Sony's 4K Video Unlimited service, which, far from being unlimited, probably doesn't have that many titles. But you will be able to rent for 24 hours, $8 a film, 4K versions of TV episodes, films, and short-form content.
I'll tell you what, Tom, you've heard me. I've been bearish on the idea of 4K as a cinema standard in the home since day one, but something about the fact that it's an actual item and it's here and available right now kind of makes me hope that it works out. I want this to be profitable because I like better, higher fidelity experiences. I want 4K as a standard to be valued. I want giant, clear screens to be a thing. I just don't think that movies is the place for them. So I'm nothing but thumbs up for Sony in this regard.
And actually, it's $699. It's the television that's capable of showing 4K that really is the expensive part of this. $699 is not cheap, don't get me wrong, but that's all it costs to be able to get
20% of your total purchase experience or so, or maybe 10% of your total purchase.
Isn't the TV like $10,000 still?
I mean, right now, but like next year, it'll be down to like 4,000. It's like this stuff drops so fast. And
of course, Tube Top's all about the devices, the hardware that we use. And a minor note here: Roku Streaming Stick FCC listing shows that it's going to get the same remote that the new Roku box got, which means you have the headphone jack in the remote control. I don't know if anyone cares, but it's kind of nifty.
Dude, I think that is the kind of subtle change that could mean an awful lot to, especially there are still couples, Bonnie and I are not one of them, but there are couples where there's a TV in the bedroom and one of them wants to watch while the other one's trying to sleep or whatever. That little thing matters in a huge, huge way. So good for them.
Yeah. Let's move on to Film File. The BBC has been making content exclusively available for iPlayer, but not in the great numbers that it's doing. It announced 8 shows now, most of them comedies, most of them shorter form, but expanding its effort, kind of indicating that like maybe iPlayer is the future of the BBC.
Well, at some point, like these decisions don't happen in a vacuum, right? It's not like somebody sat there and says, we don't make enough content for the iPlayer. Because I think it's a great opportunity. The only reason this happens is that somebody says, geez, do you guys realize how many people are watching just on iPlayer? This is ridiculous. We are sitting on a gold mine. We just need to monetize it. So good for them for realizing that, or at least hoping for that.
I'm really curious to see what the BBC does. Because, the licensing system in the UK is you buy a television, you pay a licensing fee, and that subsidizes the BBC corporation through the government. And I'm probably still saying it wrong because there's like, no, it's not run by the government, et cetera, et cetera. But it is that sort of situation. They don't have commercials. That's not how they fund themselves. It'd be interesting to see if the BBC could come up with hardware. Say, look, you know what we're going to do? You don't want to pay the TV licensing fee? Fine. You're not going to, you got to show that you're not doing any over-the-air reception, but we'll sell you a box and it has the licensing fee built into it. And then you pay a subscription and that's your licensing fee.
Right. Exactly.
I'm curious to see that. Also, Netflix already renewing Orange is the New Black. It hasn't even premiered yet. It premieres July 11th, I think.
Now, do you think that this is a case of them because it's a conscious decision to make this kind of move and renew something before it even comes out? Now, realistically, they don't actually, for a lot of these, need to wait until it comes out. Like, they have internal tracking data. They do things like they test it on all different audiences, and they get a statistically significant level. They look at the way people are perceiving the marketing, and they pretty much know within a set percentage what the range of results they'll get when something comes out. Like in this case, to decide that they're going to renew it before it comes out is less a function of, we really believe in this and our data says it's going to be huge, so we better get started right away. And it seems to me like it's more a ostentatious way to show support for it before it even comes out. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, no, it does. I don't know that you make it, I know what you're saying. I don't want people to get the impression that they don't pay any attention to how many people stream it or anything, and that doesn't matter because they do. Obviously, when House of Cards got renewed again, it got 2 years right up front. But when they threw a third on top of that, that was a big deal to say, oh, it must have worked, right?
Right.
And so they're it's not like they always just throw extra seasons because their focus groups looked well. But at the same time, I get what you're saying, which is they might have said, hey, you know what? All the trending is indicating that this is going to do well. We're pretty confident it's going to do well. And so we're confident enough. It'll be a good press release to put out if we just go ahead and authorize the second season now. And that'll drum up interest in it because people say, oh, it must be really good. I should probably watch it.
And I guess what I'm saying is that I don't think this is nearly as risky a proposition as it sounds like. You know, it's they have a solid idea within a fixed margin of error that they can predictably rely on. And so they're not taking a big risk by giving it a second season. But I do think that it was a smart, media savvy move to do so.
Well, you say that until it tanks, right? And that has happened. It's rare, but
that's true.
It has happened in broadcast. The thing is, we'll never know because Netflix doesn't publish any. There's no Nielsen ratings, right?
Which the more I think about it, is brilliant on Netflix's part. The fact that they position themselves above the ratings box, which is amazing. If you asked me 3 years ago, if anyone could achieve a dominant market position without pleasing the populace with all because the whole thing is social proof is extraordinarily powerful in motivating the masses. And the fact that they are rejecting it, they're like, we are going to say this is a hit and give you zero evidence to back that up, give you zero hard numbers to make you feel like you need to be part of the herd by jumping in and going for it, is really extraordinary. And I think liberating for creators who will later go on to work with these guys.
But then sometimes being liberated to create things the way you want means that you take an already bloated movie and add 20 minutes of extra footage to it. Which
if only you could give
totally
me one example of this.
Related on a totally unrelated story. I'm not implying that this is the example in any way, but The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey on DVD will have 20 minutes of extra, or on Blu-ray will have 20 minutes of extra footage. Yes, there will be an extended edition.
This is good because do you know what I've heard since day one from people who've read The Hobbit?
Too short. Yeah.
Is that they say, really only 3 movies from that one book?
Right.
Clearly, bro, you need more content.
Thranduil in the theater release. Well, you're gonna get Thranduil now. So
that's true. Worry. Well, thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Let's move on to the summer movie draft.
All right,
it's a fight between Justin and Brian, possibly Sarah Lane for the top spot. It's
really not.
This is actually what? Why not?
It's really not. It's really not. Do you realize for Justin is ahead right now. He's got about 100 million on me,
and he's got the Smurfs 2 left, which is going to make some money.
So here's the question:
you have Despicable Me 2, and
Despicable Me 2, and The World's End.
And The World's End.
I've got 3 movies. So the question is, I think, dude, I mean, look, to me, I'm just going to go ahead and call it. It looks like I've won this thing. I've just about wrapped it up. To me, the real interesting story is between Justin and Sarah for number 2 and whether or not.
I think you probably have wrapped it up. I do think that if one of your movies is off, I do think that he'll get enough out of the Smurfs 2. He might get close to $200 million out of the Smurfs 2. That he could put up a front. But it's going to take one of your movies underperforming. If your movies perform as expected, you're in.
Yes, correct. And the big one is it's all about Despicable Me too. Like I've seen, there's so many cross-promotional tie-ins. Like I've been seeing this stuff for like 6 months now.
People
the
talk
Minions
about it. I just hear people talking
huge.
About it.
Yeah. No. I think Despicable Me, to be honest, like I think we're going to know in what, when does Despicable Me come out? Like a couple
this
weeks?
Well,
this
July
week.
3rd. Yeah, along with The Lone Ranger, which is Scott Johnson's movie.
In fact, 1 week from today, I think we could pretty much call number one on this. However, there will be, I think, maybe a 3-way fight for number 2.
Oh, you think Scott's going to get into it?
Well, I mean, Scott's got Lone Ranger's going to be big, and Red 2 is going to be big. I don't know if
Lone Ranger's going to be that big, but okay.
I mean, we'll see. I'll tell you what, dude. Johnny Depp does not throw away his likeness on crap franchises. I don't think.
The important point here, for people who don't care about the draft, Despicable Me 2 and Lone Ranger coming out this week. Support your local draft.
Support whoever you want to have win.
Let's talk about what we're watching.
What we're watching.
Tom, I want you to go first. You've been watching an awful lot here. Walk me through all these.
I don't know how this happened because I don't feel like I had that much time this week. But I watched The Avengers on Netflix again. Amazing.
Okay, and so this is this only the second time you've watched it?
This is the third time. I saw it in the theater twice.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, were you as surprised?
I don't have anything to add to what you said last week. It made me smile. It was fun.
Good. I
got to move through this stuff. I got a list of 100 things here.
Okay, go.
We were going to go see the Simon Pegg movie that was out this week, and we couldn't get a good seat, so we watched Shaun of the Dead instead on I think it was on HBO Go actually, and that was fun. Bridesmaids, rented it finally, loved it, hilarious.
I hear that. I hear it was really good.
Defiance, Warehouse 13, True Blood, Dexter, Venture Brothers, Casablanca on Vudu on my iPad. Nice experience, Vudu. Well done. It was very enjoyable.
Have you watched? Had you watched Casablanca before?
Have I watched the movie Casablanca before?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my favorite movie. I've watched it a million times.
But you realize, like, I've never seen it. I've never seen Casablanca. It's a tabula rasa. It's a blank slate on my... Tom, come back. We have to finish the show. You can't walk off in the middle of a show, Tom. Tom, this is unprofessional. This is unlike you. I'm sorry.
If you need a host, I could join you.
Jason and I are going to take over the show if that's how bad it's gotten with Tom.
Wow, I can't believe you just stunk up the place there, Brian.
I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean to do that.
All right, I'll calm down. I did want to talk about Under the Dome, though, which is the Stephen King show that came to television on CBS and is the one that you can watch like a few days later on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
I thought it was really good. Did you watch it?
No, I haven't watched it yet. And in fact, I wanted to check with you because you know how allergic I am. Like it takes one person to say, oh, that's crap, and I'll lose all interest in it. And considering that I was thinking about not reading the book just so I could experience the TV show, and especially with Stephen King's dicey history of lending his name to a lot of really crappy movies and television shows, I was worried. But if you give me the thumbs up, I'll watch. I'll hold off on the book.
I'm giving you the thumbs up. First episode was strong.
Okay.
We'll see where it goes. I'm not raving like, oh my God, it's one of the best things I've seen on television, but exceeded my expectations, which admittedly were average to low.
Okay.
So I liked it. It kept my interest. I liked it.
Right on, man.
Let's squeeze in a little feedback before we go.
Wait.
Oh, wait. Sorry. I always go first. I totally forgot. Brian, what have you been watching?
Well, in your defense, we went kind of out of order. Usually I go first. And to be honest, there's really not much for me to share. I did not keep up my end of the bargain for the rubber challenge. I've not taken the rubber challenge. I will do that in honor of the feedback that we got before. I did watch a short movie called The History of the Aspect Ratio. It's like 20 minutes long.
I didn't get all the way through it. I started watching it. It was really good, though.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's like you wouldn't think that I did not know that the original CinemaScope used 3 projectors or 3 cameras and then 3 projectors to present it in order to get this amazing curved stuff. It's really, really good on Vimeo. But to be honest, all of my story-driven full attention time has been taken up by The Last of Us on the PS3. I cannot say enough about this story, Tom. I know we don't usually do video games, but The Last of Us, I suspect by the time I'm finished, will be in the top 20% of all stories I have experienced, full stop. Ahead of so many movies, ahead of so many television shows, ahead of so many web series. The level of storytelling that they have, the downbeats, it's the most believable apocalypse I've ever experienced. It's the most the characters I trust in and believe. They do a great job of making you understand the pain of the protagonist and the hope embodied in the young girl that's your cargo you're trying to get from point A to point B. It is utterly extraordinary and a lot of fun to play as well. And it's like, again, it's like at some point, to me, the characteristics of a great game. Most games, you sit through the cutscenes so you could get back to the action. Great games, you get through the action and you're rewarded and you're excited to get to the next cutscene. And this is definitely the case for The Last of Us. Can't say enough.
Somebody get Brian a video game show, for goodness sake. My God.
Yeah, one of these days. I think I'd have a lot to say about video games.
That's cool. No, I've been really avoiding The Last of Us because of how great it's been reviewed. Because I'm like, I need to have time to do this. I can't skimp. I
just jump in. It's got the best.
I don't have time.
Opening.
I don't have time to jump in right now. So I want to jump in when I have time.
I'll say this much. I'm playing through the whole game live stream. If Justin.tv/ScamSchoolBrian, they're archiving the clips at BBpedia Videos. That's YouTube.com/BBpedia Videos. They're breaking it into individual segments. Just watch the first 20 minutes of the playthrough. It's extraordinary. You experience the entire first 20 minutes up to the credit sequence as a peripheral character who's not even in the rest of the game. It's really amazing.
All right, we're starting to run a little long, so let's each pick one feedback.
Now it's time for feedback with Brian and Tom on Frame Rate. Oh, yeah.
Because it really is time for feedback. You go ahead, Brian. Which one do you want to read?
I'll tell you what. First one here, just wanted to drop a quick note that I agree with Brian about your discussion you had on your last Frame Rate about Chase That Dragon, the Man of Steel ad placements. I have found it unusual to see so many different products and companies in Man of Steel. I thought it was rather interesting to see so many as Sears, Nokia, etc. Funny to see Superman fighting in an IHOP. I Googled and found this article video. It's a Bloomberg article that talks about how Man of Steel is the most lucrative product placement movie in history. It made $160 million before a single ticket was sold. Apparently, there we go. That's from R. Trenkler. And if you watch the video on there, just go to Bloomberg.com and type in Man of Steel product placements. They break down not only the stuff that was in the movie, but the advertisements that were tied into the movie and stuff. I did not realize, I'm not saying like I'm super sensitive to it and then I go nuts whenever I see any kind of product placement. But apparently I picked the right movie to notice that on, because it is the most lucrative product placement movie in all of history.
That's amazing. And I have to say, well done with it, because I never looked at any of that stuff. As I mentioned, it didn't really even stick out to me. But I never looked at that stuff and go, wait a minute, that wouldn't be there. Would there be a Sears? Sure. In that town? Yeah. Of course there would be. That's
you
what
notice
you have
that,
in that kind of time. Would there be an IHOP? Of course there would be.
Did you notice that Superman's mom worked at Sears? Like if you looked, like she's got the Sears logo right on her. Yeah.
I mean, it's fine to me. I don't care if it's product placement as long as it doesn't undermine the story.
And clearly it didn't for you. You didn't even notice. Yeah. And even then, like for me, it wasn't like it was offensive and I was annoyed by it. It was just like I just noticed like 4 or 5 brand names mentioned and I couldn't help but wonder how much they paid for that placement.
All right, and finally from Sandra, she says, I'm becoming increasingly frustrated with the pricing structure at Vudu and iTunes. If I want to buy a new movie from either service, it'll cost me around $20. But if I buy the same movie on Blu-ray or DVD, I get not only the disc, but also the digital download, iTunes, and the Vudu copy for around the same price. I really don't want the disc, but I like getting the iTunes Vudu copy so that I can watch the movie anywhere, anytime I want. I now own so many movies that I've opened the case just once in order to get the code out of the case and then put it on a shelf, taking up space. Do you think iTunes Vudu will ever decrease their prices? Is this an example of them doing the same thing as Time Warner, goosing up their DVD Blu-ray sales by saying, hey, you know what? Might as well buy the DVD because same price.
I'll tell you what. And weirdly, I wouldn't even blame them if they do. If there's a dollar value associated with towing the line that everything is fine and DVD sales are as normal as they ever were, then I understand them subsidizing that arrangement, even though it's stupid and requires them to make physical product that nobody likes and pay to move it across America so somebody can buy a physical thing to feel good about themselves. You know, right now we're in that weird mushy phase. We're in a transition, Tom. I don't see how they could do anything else.
I bought a CD the other day that was cheaper to buy the CD on Amazon with the digital copy included. In other words, I bought the CD on Amazon, got the MP3s right away, and then the CD was mailed to me. It was $2 cheaper to do that than to buy the MP3 album. It's just a weird economics going on right now.
And to be honest, these are the artifacts of a market that is seeing an earthquake run through it. So it's good that we see weird crap like this because it means big changes are on the way.
And Sandra, eventually prices will stabilize. Will they go up? Will they go down? It's hard to say because of inflation and how much is a digital download going to be in demand, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, this will not last. Eventually, we'll just have the digital downloads probably in most cases and maybe some special editions with discs. And these prices I think they'll be cheaper than discs a little bit because there will be some competition out there. But yeah, this is a weird temporary situation. Well, that is it for this edition of Frame Rate, Brian Brushwood. How did you like the interruptee?
Felt good. I liked the ability to interrupt you at any time I felt, and I actually did notice a couple of times that you weren't able to hear me. So for the ducking, so maybe next week you'll do the double Skype extravaganza, and then we'll be nothing but constant interruption.
I never noticed that I wasn't able to hear you.
Well, yes, because you didn't hear me. That's the whole point. Wait,
you said something and I just ignored it?
Yeah, like I was, and you kept going because you didn't hear. That's the whole.
Or did I just?
The whole point of what we're trying to. Rest in peace, Jim Kelly.
All right.
You were truly Black Belt Jones.
Twit.tv/FR. You can find us live on Mondays at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, and always on demand at twit.tv/FR. Email us, framerate@twit.tv. We love to read your emails, especially if you're taking the chicken challenge. It pays to cancel.
Yeah. Send in your letters.